Chaim Fisher is the kind of person I want to be when I grow up, even though he's younger than me.
No, you don't want to wear headphones?
He messes up my hair.
You don't have.
Oh God, no. Are you sure? No. Oh my God! One day I left with a chup. You get into this part of town, everything goes. I left Wesley Hills with a chup. I had better hair than him. I had like a comb, and I look like Adolf Hitler. A little thing here. You better kick your ass. I get here, garnet. I'm telling you, they say Muncie and people are taking over.
Rocco. Lick him. Rocco, lick him.
Now you make a bracha. He still fleischiks. Shabbos, he doesn't have meat before Shkia, so. I'm not going to say who the client is. I had a client who had a Maggid Shir come 4 times a week.
Okay.
And I was working on site. And I used to bring him because I had a friend who was a special needs kid in Borough Park who liked Rocco. These dogs are amazing intuitively. Right. They're very good. They sense it. So the Maggid Shir comes over to me one day. And Rocco said, all day in my office. Comes over, he goes, Dan hin. Can glätten? I go, why not? Everyone, comes over, gets to my glass. He goes, comes back a couple days later. And they come in a couple days later. He comes back and goes, next when he gets to the house with them, can I come in? Because I used to walk him. I go, sure. He's walking. He's asking me, a couple of years, can I make a house in a lane market? I said, open leash.
Take him for a walk.
Yeah, open leash. Yeah. And then, no problem. And he started walking rock. And a couple of days, I said, let me get you a picture. He goes, oh, no. Why? He goes, my kindergarten shidichem.
Yeah.
It turned out he was in UTA. Over there, the dogs are suiting. Wow. He says they learn. He's younger than me. He's like he's probably in his 50s. Or he goes, they taught us a dog is a suiting. There's anything suiting.
So you know what's fascinating, and I'll go back to
falling down steps because when they fall, it's like a black and white. I'm sorry, you can't get that image out of your head now, right? The rest of the day, every time like a domino. Every time you see steps, it was then the Schwarzwasser. We just lost the whole.
Tell them about what you started.
The whole Catholic audience. That's it. No nuns are going to watch it.
Welcome back to another episode of the What It Takes podcast, where we interview people who did what it takes and have incredible stories to share to help you learn how you can take it next level in your career. Today's guest is a marketing and brand powerhouse. You may know him as the creative mind behind campaigns for Polaroid, Brother, Zinc, ARF Pets, and other iconic brands. He's a strategist.
Are we allowed to say HBO? We shouldn't.
We could say HBO. HBO as well. He's a strategist, a storyteller, and someone who understands that today's consumers don't want to think, they want to feel. His name is Shlomo, or Sam Ash, not the music store. And that's literally his private email address. And in this episode, we're diving into how he's turned creativity, data, and a little bit of humor into marketing campaigns that actually work. How he spots opportunities that other people miss, and the lessons he's learned from being in the industry for over 25 years.
Yeah.
Welcome to the podcast.
First of all, remind me to get a new private email when this is over. That aside.
His email address is not the music store at gmail.com. You ever heard of Sam Ash?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, they're not a business anymore.
I outlasted them, even though they sued me, but that's for another time. I don't know who you introduced there, but that guy was really I just write stuff. And I just figure out wow, people are paying me to do this. God bless.
When the person who introduced us was our previous guest, Aaron Zutler from Pop Insanity.
Now he's the real deal.
Here's my question. When he was describing you and then he sent me a link to some of your work, I would have thought of you as a very, very good copywriter. But then I saw over your career doing some research before the episode, I saw you're a creative director. Interesting.
I'm a writer. I started out as a writer. Anybody who started out as a writer, you inherently get into the strategy because you have to understand what you're writing about. You have to understand how the strategy got there. I had the added plus or minus thing. I look at it coming from yeshiva background, so Gemara, everything becomes Gemara and Lumdus.
But you don't see video editors who are also creatives becoming creative directors.
No.
You don't see.
I think nothing against.
Nothing against. No, but in general, the different levels of creativity.
No, because we get the
graphic designers don't become.
No, they do.
Sometimes.
A lot of because we get both writers and art directors get involved in the beginning of the process. Video guys get involved. It's already there's something there to shoot. We get involved a lot of times when it's a prototype.
Right.
we went to an idea on a page. What are you going to name this? Well, we get involved very often in the abstract.
Right.
Years ago, and I'm going to date myself with this, but I don't care. Brother launched something called a P-Touch, the labeling machine.
Brother, the printing company. Okay.
Yes, the Brother P-Touch, which is I launched that for them. My son.
You working for an agency? You were working
for an agency. I was Brothers Ad. I was at that point. I was the writer of Brothers Agency, but they gave that to me because I was the geek, and this was a whole new product. This was a $100 labeler, when until then labelers were $10. It was a dime, and my son, my middle son Ellie, was born at 4 a.m. At 7 a.m, I was on the set to shoot the commercial, and I had to be there because I wrote the commercial. What?
Your wife killed you.
She was killing me during labor, and I kept asking the doctor, "Do you think we'll be done by 6? Because I got to be the set." And my boss literally, this is before cell phones were really a thing, and every call's $1 a minute, and my boss just kept me on the phone. And I said, "Let me put a man on the phone with the doctor." I want, it's like Bob, But he was born at 4. I was there. Now and the commercial was created a category by targeting people who would spend $100 on a labeler, because we didn't sell. We sold. My father, I have to explain how we got there because it all ties. When we presented, the Japanese, very big on technology.
Right.
They're very big on how it does it. A lot of times more than what it does. Right. The Walkman was the footprint, the smallness or the sound. Right. It wasn't
right.
How they got the engineering. Americans, we're too lazy. We like what's the benefit. When the Japanese came out with P-Touch, the brief we got was all about the rationale why it's 100, because the labels last forever, which they do. I have one of my mailbox for 30 years. It's fine.
Right.
30 years. It's Muncie winters, summers, everything says halt noch. They were right, because it's laminated. The old style labels, the embossed ones, he's fine.
I love him.
The old style.
I want to put him on my lap, but he wouldn't.
He's the old style. We're talking about my dog Rocky, by the way, who he's going to be interviewed soon. Stay tuned. He's speaking about Roy Lachilas Kellogg, the plus and minuses. So when we presented P-Touch, we had this based on this Japanese thing of the laminate. That was the whole brief. We had just moved here to Muncie, and I took home a machine, and I started labeling because our fuse box, nothing was labeled, and I realized, because it makes everything...
P-Touch is the labeler. The white one, okay.
And I realized, wow, this is a really cool thing. It looks good. It looks like... And it became addictive. And when we walked in to present, they were expecting something about technology and how it prints underneath. And I walked in, and I said, my father's a contractor. Before that, he was in the Holocaust. This was my presentation. And he's and despite that, now remember, this old Japanese, I'm talking about the Germans, that was a long time ago. Pearl Harbor were cool. We went, and I said, but he used to buy, but he buys German tools like Bosch, because people say, why are you buying a German drill, Joe? Why are you buying Bosch? You can get, and he goes, "Kaif the drill, kaif the lecher." And I said it in English.
You need to do English subtitles.
Right. So the translation, which I translate to the Japanese as well, was, "I'm not buying the drill, I'm buying the holes."
Right.
And I said, the mistake we're making here is we're not selling the technology, we're selling the labels. Right. And I showed him the commercial idea, which was a guy in a psychiatrist's couch talking to his psychologist about how obsessed he is with labeling everything. Right. And then the spice, his doctor, you have to help you with this problem. And he turns to the doctor, and the doctor's covered in labels. He goes, "What problem?" And it did very Baruch Hashem. And it was, again, and I say this, Aaron Zutler turned me on to this B'tachin shir every day. You start looking back at the things that happen in your life, and you realize, like, I wish I understood this then, because, I was paying this commercial, Baruch Hashem did very well, but it did, and I wrote it, I came up with it, and I but at the end of the day, it's like I had no right, When you look at my background, there's nothing that says I should be doing commercials, that ended up being on America's Funniest Commercial, and ends up creating a category. Electronic labeling was created by the brother P-Touch, by people seeing this, and it resonated with them because they got it. It was them. But I shouldn't have been there. It's like, that's why I never took anybody seriously. It took me seriously, because because I know I'm a clown. In fact, I'm fooling you. It's like, that's on you, dude. Like I said, the Japanese, Japanese are very big on protocol.
Did you act like this at work?
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't act.
I'm not acting. This is me.
This is you. Did you put on a professional front?
Nope. Baruch Hashem, I'm on the creative side, so I have leeway.
You're allowed to.
But when I first met, when I
Day one, you went up for a job interview. You spoke
My first, you see, again, you want to. I got my first job. There used to be a company called CBS Records, a record club, 10 records for a penny, when they still had records and CDs, back in the day. I got a job there because I used to hang out with Mordechai Ben David and Shia Mendlowitz, and they had an office on Coney Island Avenue. I go back with Shia since elementary school, and I took that and I turned that into a music marketing experience. And I saw a job for a temp, at Columbia Records. So I had to go to this temp agency.
How do you feel like working in a non-Jewish company? I feel like back in the day it was way more common than it is today. If you have the opportunity to work in a frum company,
no, there weren't the frum company. I wanted to do it for real.
Right.
That's what I thought. But I walked into this temp agency to give you a typing test. On those days, it was mamish typewriters.
Right. Stevie, how long ago was this?
1979, 80, about
40,
81, 82.
40,
yeah, early
40 years ago.
Yeah, I'm not funding the money, CBS. I don't care what. I typed like Stevie Wonder, blind person. So when you take the typing test, they give you a run-through round. Like you can just get familiar. And I looked around, there was some papers, some people had the run-through round. So I looked at the one that seemed to be the best and I handed that in. They said, okay, go. And I blah, 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 blah. And then when she wasn't looking, I pulled it out, switched it with that one. Arangagabim.
You really do that? What were you like in elementary school? Troublemaker?
It's very different. I was in elementary school with Ephraim Waxman, who,
Really?
Yeah.
Were you a troublemaker then? Class clown? No. Or were you more studious?
No, I wasn't good in sports. I just...
Not sports,
but
when it comes
sports
to
are
learning.
what made you in elementary school.
Right.
I sucked at sports, and I was, I always read. I was into pop culture and reading. The yeshivas I went to.
More of an introvert?
I was avert.
Avert.
Not overt, not intro. Just I did my own thing. I was perfectly happy.
Really?
And that's
when did this personality come out?
What personality?
The funny, the
anger,
no filter.
Anger inward is depression. Anger outward is wit. I'm like anger sideways. So, take away. But that's how I got friendly with Shia Mendel, and that's what I'm saying. I got friendly in elementary school because he couldn't play punch ball either, so we started talking Jewish music. We both like Jewish music, and that over the years, I got into electronics because I like music. I got into electronics and photography in high school. I used to hang out in Focus Electronics in Borough Park.
Really?
Yeah, my big
13th, right?
Yeah, my big Cholamoy trip was going to Willoughby Peerless Camera Store in the city, and hanging out there. That was. So when I decided I wanted to go into this thing called advertising, which this is how, because it comes up like how, I didn't go to school for this. I got Hashem sent a lot of very patient people to me. But when I was 8 years old, my father was trying to give me a lift to school, and there was a aftershave brand called Brut,
right,
which was terrible, but it was by Fabergé, so people thought it was good. But so Brut, you knew it because a kid, but I hear a commercial with a Battlefield. I'm 8 years old. You're in the car. You hear a war. You pay attention. And the guy starts talking about it being a battlefield. Is your cologne like you wear one shampoo, one deodorant, one. And I'm listening. Brut makes everything, so you can have one smell.
Right.
So I'm 8 years old, and I remember this vividly. I spoke to the guy who was at the agency. He's trying to track down the commercial for me. Yeah, he couldn't. But I remember vividly at 8 years old saying, I get that.
Right.
I get that's an idea.
Right.
It's not just, at that point, there was a lot of great commercials, but that one had a chachma, it had a message. Because I thought about, my mess and just, my father had Old Spice and he had, wow.
Everything. One fragrance.
Yes. And that stuck with me. And then years later.
I remember Brut.
What?
I remember Brut.
I started paying attention when I got older because I always liked writing. When I started college, there's a thing called Johnson O'Connor. It's an aptitude test. Aptitude is a chushim you're born for, not that you learn.
Right.
So Johnson O'Connor, to build their metrics, is giving it for free to all incoming freshmen at Brooklyn College. It's like a $2,000 test. Corporate America uses it. They're still around. And it's saying, based on your aptitude, this is what you'll be matzliach and enjoy doing. I took it because it's free.
And you're Jewish.
I am? Okay, sorry, Mom. That's why the nun joke probably worked. I went ahead. I took the test, and my parents were upset because at that point I was going to be a dentist, a lawyer, whatever. And I took the test, and it came back, journalism or writing.
Really?
And I never saw the results again. What do they know? It's a goyim. Give a kick up the name. Johnson O'Connor. It's a goyim. They don't know Jews. Oh, yeah, but a journalist? What's a journalist? A Jew?
When did you make it? In career, yeah. When did you feel like you made it?
I never feel like I make it.
When did your parents?
Business, no, they never did.
They never felt like you made it. That you were now.
No.
Now you do consulting.
When I showed my father that my first commercial that was all mine because when I was a junior writer, I was involved in commercials for Hasbro, but this was all mine.
Right.
And I showed it to my father because my son was born. We were staying by my parents because my mom uses Borough Park, remember? And my father's like, showing him the rough cut because that's how you did. Because when you shoot on film, which we did, you had to pick your takes.
Right.
And then those you transfer. And it was a process. I'm showing my father, and my father goes, wie lang is the ganze Sache? I said, it's like 27 seconds because you put the end available at. Goes, schon 4 Wochen. Wie viel meinst du Geld? Wie kannst du machen Geld aus?
He didn't get it.
Didn't get it. And advertising, he was Borough Park's first high-end contractor. He never had a sign in front of any of his houses. He did all. He did the first generation.
Did you grow up wealthy?
Define wealthy. No, I mean, no.
You knew that your parents had.
No, I had
money.
to shoplift. It was, you have to wear a big coat and whatever. Wasn't easy, especially in butcher shops. But on steak, you do what you have to. No. My father worked for a lot of very Matziach Jews, but you couldn't tell. This was the survivor generation.
Right.
You didn't flaunt it.
Now you're doing consulting, or freelance.
Yes.
What's the most amount of money you made as a W-2 in a year?
Okay, I'm gonna sound like a real idiot now. You have to ask my wife. I don't know.
Did you ever negotiate salaries when the companies were looking to hire you?
No, Hashem realized I'm an idiot. And Baruch Hashem. No, I have a pricing thing, a project thing.
Now there's a freelancer, but when you worked for companies,
when I worked for a company
or agencies,
I worked with when I was at Hasbro's agency, I was a junior, so there was a scale and a raise and a review. When I switched to Brother Agency, where I was at for 20 some odd years, I had an amazing boss. He understood we weren't an expense. We were an investment. And, so he just made sure I was happy because Nifsa Nefesh is all you need. At certain points in my life, I was going through rough spells on personal things, financially related, and he literally bailed me out.
Wow.
He came to me and it was like, did I tell you the twin story when I had my... So that's who he was. He understood that we were the Nifsa Nefesh. Right. In his creative department, man, he used to tell me this with people in my department. Because if anyone, give me a heads up if they're worth it. I had a story with my house where after we had our twins, we thought we sold the house. We didn't. The people for a year. We went to contract in October after Yom Tovim. He called me Tisha B'Av after Chatzos to back out for a whole year. And we had another house on the line. I ended up in the hospital with chest pain. Don't ask, but when my boss knew it was going, because he spotted me the down payment for this other house we were going to buy.
Wow.
And I told him what's going on. He says, okay, when it works out, don't worry about it. And I gave back, obviously, but he understood. He understood that it's just, you got to keep, it's like, it's like if you have a farm, you keep your cows healthy.
Right.
In an agency. So the problem today, not problem is the wrong word, the challenge today is a lot of frum people, they don't look at what people like myself do as an investment. We're an expense. They'd rather not. And I know this because my father always told me the same. I offered free signs for him for his jobs. He never wanted it. Every other pitcher who got a license, and by the way, getting construction licenses, like really, you can be in a wheelchair or deaf and get one, apparently. But my father was legit, and he wouldn't be fair diaphragm. Whoever needs to know, they'll know.
Right.
And you walked in some of the houses he made, some real gevirim, you couldn't tell from the outside.
Wow.
They weren't, you couldn't tell by their cars. There was one guy we davened with, we found out after he was nifty, he owns 400 apartments in the city. And I see him on the train in the morning, and he used to brag to me about the briefcase he got from his bank for free.
Different world.
They didn't have to make a point.
Right.
Today, it's a different
Those
thing.
people's kids feel like they need to make a point. Those kids, the grandkids.
Because they're living in the shadow.
Right.
That's why I said the best thing I did for my kids was never being home.
Don't say that.
No,
no. Parents should be home.
I don't advise it today.
Parents should be home.
It's a different world today. And I talk to my wife all the time how we would, the internet was just starting. And we had filters at home. We had a system at home where every night I got a printout of everything that was done on the kids' computers.
Right.
Right. But today with the kids, it wasn't like today where screen, where
Right.
devices. And look, my grandson's going to be by mitzvah in 2 weeks. He still doesn't have a smartphone.
They don't need it they don't need a
No.
smartphone
And
till they work.
He's in Yavne, which isn't the, Haredi school.
Right.
It's but my son and daughter-in-law, he doesn't need it.
Doesn't need it. I think kids should get phones, just calling, not even text.
I think kids should get pay phones.
Pay for
If they don't have, and then an allowance. So use up their allowance.
Boom.
That's it. They should
Calling cards.
Yes. No, not calling, pay phone. But my wife and I talk about we thank God that we're not raising kids today because the challenges you hear and the challenges that are out. We have 5 boys, and Baruch Hashem, the metric for today is all your kids are talking to you. You're okay.
Right.
And Baruch Hashem, all my kids talk to me, or make believe it. No. But but when they were growing up, I was never home. I worked full time. I was an agency creative director. We had real, it was a $50, $60 million, $75 million agency, depending. We had real,
Agency.
Yes. On my own, I was doing my own things. I did like the Homo Whack. I did the Buzz. I did Hamish accounts, which my boss loved because it got us into other places. Like you walk into like a commercial place. There's always some frum guy says, "Oh, I heard you on Nachum." There was one day, it was a couple couple of years. I did Howard Stern show in the morning for his birthday because
isn't he West Coast?
No, he was national. He was on. Now he's on. He was always New York, East Coast. Okay. On the morning, I was on his birthday show on 92.3 K Rock. At night, I was on Nachum Siegel for the Homo Whack and the Buzz. Heshi Beagle. That was, and this happened more than once. So it was like that. But that dichotomy between that and everything else, I wasn't. I should have, would have, could have been, not could have, I should have, would have been homo. But I always made, but what Bastion did my kids benefited from other ways. They used to be able to walk into the Buzz and pick out anything they wanted for Hanukkah. Right. We used to, I used to, for the bar mitzvahs, my liquor clients, like not just the liquor, but other, it was kids, So the Gachmius, they did. And quite frankly, you see what I'm like. It's probably better I wasn't around my kids. Like, things like restraining orders come up, but there was one point where somebody in one of my kids' schools really thought we were separated. I never showed up to anything.
Oh my gosh. I don't understand. I bathe my kids almost every single day. I bathe my kids and put them to bed almost every single day. Supper, homework.
Okay, I realized I had to work. Also, I was frum. I only took off my yarmulke once.
Why?
Why did I take it off that one time, or why? When I was looking for a job, my chavrus in yeshiva had a cousin who was a BBD&O, which was Pepsi's. BBD&O is like you don't say BBD&O. It's one of the big eight. Now they're all
creative agencies. Okay.
Yeah, BBD&O is Apple, Pepsi. Okay. He had a cousin who worked there in accounts. He got me an interview. I had a starter portfolio. The guy who did it for me did go to Pratt, so it was presentable. But I walked in wearing a blue pinstripe suit, a red tie, white shirt. Pretty much how he was dressed. I think I was wearing black shoes. He was wearing like penny loafers. Otherwise, I was wearing a yarmulke, plain black leather. Now I go with stuff like this. Contents under pressure. I have a whole bunch made in Japan. Contents under pressure. Because it's cool. People like it with their name. I don't want people to know my name. Let them see.
For the people listening and not watching, he's talking about his couple.
Or yarmulke, depending where you're listening. I'll just subtitle in non-Haredi Yiddish and English for those. Okay, so yesterday gesagt I'm wearing a couple. No, anyway, but I went ahead and I'm sitting across from this guy who he also had a Jewish last name, more Jewish last name than Ash. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting across from him, and he basically looks at me, looks at the work. He says he could see, but he says if somebody looks the way you do is going to have a problem in this business.
Right.
And I'm like, am I fat? I was so dense. I went to yeshiva during the day. I went to college at Brooklyn College at night. I was naming halacha during the day by Toby Goldstein. That was my world. And I grew up in Borough Park. Whatever I knew about pop culture, I knew it was halacha yad, and here we are. And these guys, and then it dawned on me, it's the yarmulke. Right. And I said at that point, look, I'm gonna whatever I'm gonna give up for this. It's not. I'm not moving on that. Right. And I gave up with kids, all that, but I only took on my yarmulke once for Pitney Bowes, which is
Pitney Bowes. Wow.
Pitney Bowes. We launched a division for them.
Very cool.
And when I went and present the first time, I didn't wear my yarmulke.
Right.
because it was Pitney Bowes, Connecticut. And we got the account. The second meeting, we came back, started took the idea. And the head guy pulls me over. And he goes, Sam. And he literally points to, he wasn't Jewish. He goes, what's that? And I said, wait, he goes, were you wearing that last time? Like he
made a comment. Wow.
And I said, no. He said, did you forget? I said, no. I said, I don't. I said it's like the first date. I found some people judge you by it, as opposed to I like being judged by what's underneath it. It's who I am more than what I do. He got the message though.
Right.
Because there's a whole routine on Mel Brooks has an album, 2,000-Year-Old Man. There's a whole routine about Connecticut. It's about wasps and Jews. He goes, oh, he's from Connecticut. And that's an inside joke in the 60s. So I just kind of pivoted to that because it changed the subject. But he got the message. And then we were doing these commercials for them, but we shot in Seattle. And he was the one that called me a dozen times to make sure everything was covered with my kosher food. Wow. He was the one that just because he was, then when we got friendly and I explained to him, he took it to heart. And when we shot in Seattle, you ever hear of the television show Cheers? No. It was very popular. So one of the characters was the mailman. So we hired him for Pitney Bowes because obvious reasons. And for those people who don't know what Pitney Bowes is, they are a mailing. If you see a postage meter, and it's an amazing business model they have because you don't buy postage, you have to rent it from them because they rent it from the government. So we launched a home for small business because that was the target because people were pivoting. So we shot. I got mailing machines. Yeah, people who mail out hundreds of thousands of pieces of mail every single day. You run an envelope through the machine, puts a stamp on it. Stack, or you can put a message. Right. So when we got this guy John Ratzenberger, I was in touch with him, and he was very helpful because he was getting into directing, whatever. And then at one point, I said, so, it was like a month before, 6 weeks before. I said, so where do you want to stay, in the Marriott or the downtown, the Intercon? And he goes, oh, I thought you guys are coming here. Right. And I thought he was joking. We're paying him $250,000 for a week's worth of work. Something like $150, $250. Don't hold me to the number. $1,000 for a week. $150 or $250. Don't hold me to the number. Okay. It's like a long over $100,000. Yes, for a week's worth of work. Plus all expenses, and he's saying, "Oh, I thought," and you know what he told me? He says, "I did Cheers for 10 years. I don't like traveling. I miss my family." He basically said he had a family, and because he was shooting in L.A., lived in Seattle. Wow. I go to Pitney Bowes, and I said, "We got a problem because it was so close to a shoot. He couldn't get good people. Everyone good is booked." And we gave them the number, and they said, "Okay, fine. Here's what it is." When he was ready to walk, and he wasn't being a jerk. He says, use the guy from Seinfeld. Use the mailman guy from Seinfeld. I hope you're enjoying today's podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Blackbird Recruiting. ChatGPT, what do you think about Blackbird Recruiting?
Blackbird Recruiting, the team that finds you the right people so you can stop wasting time on resumes that look like they were written by someone's dog. If you're a business owner struggling to find top talent, let Blackbird do the heavy lifting. They'll help you find candidates who actually get it. Visit blackbirdrecruiting.com and let them take your hiring game to new heights.
You heard it here first. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Just for reference, of the people watching, you can't see this. Under the table, the dog Rocco laid down. I did not realize that it's not the carpet for a second.
He's trying to tell me the dog needs a haircut. He's getting one before Yontif. I'm making it into a winter strimal, okay? Okay, we just took a dog break. I'm sorry. We're back. Slate, take two. I'm sitting with he used to keep me company for dinner because I had my kosher meals at the hotel. Okay. And we were talking about the whole thing with a mix-up. And I said, let me ask you a question. How much money does one need to turn down $150,000 for a week's worth of work? All expenses paid. How much? Okay. How much do you need
to have in the bank?
You know what he told me? He said, Sam, it's not a number until it will change your life. Right. So there's no number to it. He goes, thank God Cheers worked very well. And then he was doing Toy Story then. He just started with Toy Story. And he said, it wasn't going to change my life. Missing my kids would. Right. I think, and I heard this. I said, you're not Jewish, are you?
Okay, let's try to knock this out in another 5 or 10 minutes. I have a recruiting agency called Blackbird Recruiting.
We'll talk about that later.
And it's not about me, it's about you. But I started this podcast as a tool to help people learn how they can level up their careers. You've worked in creative agencies. You've worked for the clients.
You want stuff to help the hirers or the hiree?
The employees. If someone wants to build a career in creative.
Can I be honest?
Yeah. Don't say don't do it.
No, a building career thing. First of all, what passes for creative today.
How much can someone make? Looking back at your,
I've been following our frum sites. There's a guy Shmuel Friedman started a thing called BAM, which is like a frum creator. I know him for years. A very sweet guy. How much people make a lot more money doing what I do. There's people very much siach there.
Yiddish Welt or Goyish Welt?
Yiddish Welt in our world.
Well, you didn't really work specifically in the Jewish market.
No, but I was like the go-to guy. Like when Heshi Beageleisen, who owned the Buzz, launched Gourmia, which is now the #1 air fryer brand in the country. Right. I spent 3 days with him in the city. Concepting. I came up with the name, the branding. That kind of stuff. Okay, Rocky got the interview. I'll sit it out now. No, it's okay. Chasham. Like I'm
rubbing
happy
his belly, and he loves it.
You got pictures of this? This is cool. No, but guys like Heshi.
Yeah.
That's why I know him since he had Eagle in Borough Park, because we're kind of cut to the same. His vision was never limited to 13th Avenue or Avenue J. His vision was
global.
Always, and even when he started, and I heard this from people in the media who spoke to him, and they thought he had engineering degrees. What he knew about product,
really,
it was and that's what's missing today. Everything today, this whole AI, algorithms, SEO, that's designed to prevent a brand from happening. Because the platforms like Amazon don't want a brand. They want to be the king of the hill. If you're a brand, and that's why the guys at CNA were smart years ago, and they got Polaroid, because they realized this. Kippah and Chaim, the CNDA,
right?
They realized that only Amazon is the future, but the real future is to own a name.
Right, a brand.
Right, it's like the difference between getting an apartment in a good neighborhood and buying a house there.
Right.
And Chaim Fisher also with Sterling. These guys realized that he built his name on Shop NBC, migrating it to Amazon. They're still learning, but if you have a name, Amazon doesn't sit there from anybody, but they think twice if you're a name. And if studies have been done, there's a lot less brands that have come to market since the Amazons of the world. And the reason I became the go-to guy is because I'm that old. I was there when Staples started, and the superstore started, and I remember back then who's saying, who needs an office supply store?
Right.
Who needs 50 printers? Whatever.
Are they still going to be around in 10 years, Staples? Every time I walk into the store, it's more and more empty. It's not
the vertical will be around. Will be around as a physical. Probably a lot less locations. I see it going like pop up. I see like supermarkets or whatever platform still demands a tactile retail presence.
Right.
I see Staples opening pop-ups there. But do I think but I was there when these stores started.
Right.
And now remember, it's like I understood like Sam Ash, a music store needed its own thing.
Did you ever work with them?
They sued me. But
I guess not.
No, I knew them from trade shows.
Right.
But one year I got a lawsuit for dilution of trademarks. My website is also not the music store. But it was a nuisance suit.
How is the SEO on it?
Non-existent. I'm at a weird point. Either people see my stuff and they don't believe I did it because I'm a frum guy from Borough Park, how to get to HBO and all this stuff. Aaron once told me a story. I don't know if he told you. When he mentioned my name, somebody thought it was a Baal Tshuva. That guy can't be frum.
Where in Borough Park did you grow up?
50. My mother still lives 52nd, 14th, and 15th.
47, 15, and 16.
There's a big sign, last Litzbach for 5 miles. And on Pesach, she has a big sign. We have Gebrucks,
That's not true.
No, it's not, but she refused to put up the sign.
I grew up going a lot to Bethel.
Huh? Oh, been seeing. Oh, Rishon. He was a buddy. I just saw him last summer.
Right.
Been seeing.
Shulam Lemmer is now going to be.
He's doing Yom Noraim?
Yeah.
Really? I don't think
Yom
Noraim.
I think Rosh Hashanah.
So, been seeing my kids' bar mitzvahs we had in this homework hotel. Been seeing was invited as a guest. And my father Rishon was like, "You can have him daven Musaf." I said, "No, he's here as a guest because pasnish." So the next thing I know, Ben Sien comes over and he goes, my father was like he's a partisan. He kills first Nazi at 14. You didn't argue with him.
He killed a Nazi at 14?
He was a Belsky partisan. Yeah. Okay. So he walks over and he goes, your father came over and told me I'm davening Musaf. I'm not telling him no. Like he knew my father from Bar, around.
Right.
And I told Ben Sien, okay, but I said, but do me a favor. It's my, So the Bashar was, he davened Musaf, did like 2 seconds of Chazan and he plowed through Musaf. And my father was happy. I've been seeing, but Ben Sien was he was a special person. He was his father also.
Right.
So I was above Balmanagan. Ben Sien was also an expert in shechting venison.
Really? Deer.
He used to go up to music on. Yes, deer. He's going on the way back. He always stop and drop some off.
Really?
Yeah.
What does it taste like? It's good.
It's kind of like veal with an attitude.
Ha 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 ha.
I'm serious.
Isn't venison veal?
No.
What's veal?
Veal is like calf or something.
I thought veal is deer. Venison. No.
No, venison is. They're both similar because it's a gamier meat, but it was more honestly. To me, it was more about saying, "Oh, I got venison." You know,
right? It's cool.
Yeah, like my kids are like foodies. To me, it's like, well, to me, it's all packaging. You know, it's like that's why I go out these nicer places. I can't have steak. I can make that at home. I'll have 6 appetizers and the machaleben.
Right.
Because all these places hang their hats on the steak.
Right.
Fireside's cool. You know, some places, you know, overall, I'm the guy who's supposed to make you drop all the money on that.
Before we finish, I want to ask you 2 questions.
Yes,
first question,
Tuesday. This ain't going to make it on the air, I see already. This is just like his personal fun.
The first question is, if someone wants to get into a career in creative, wants to build a career in creative, where should they start in the frum belt?
Whoever will take them.
Whoever, just take a job, even for free, as an intern?
Honestly, yeah. I started, the only thing I got from this guy at BB, do you know, I got the advice because we were talking, so I was into electronics. He goes, look, if you're going to go up against everyone's coming in packaged good portfolios, which I had. Right. I had like toothpaste. He goes, you like electronics, niche yourself.
Right.
That was the only thing, and that was my only takeaway of that in the yarmulke. And I did like electronics, and I walked out, and after the CBS Columbia Record Club, I ended up in PC Magazine, Ziff Davis Publishing, because it was the start of the computer revolution. For those of you that know anything about computers, my first ad, I had the word 8 megahertz and blazing fast in the same sentence. Now my A. Nichols $6 Casio watch is faster than that. But I was there I remember when they brought Windows in, 60 discs, when they brought the demo Windows at Ziff Davis. But at that point, I niche yourself. So if you can niche yourself, if you want to get into this, you have to be able to not just talk the talk, you have to be able to walk the walk. You can say, oh, I like watches, I like this, I like food. But you have to walk in with a depth of knowledge that can be conversant in it, that shows whoever you can bring something to the table, not just saying, I like. And that's the other problem with today. Today, people can say them a maven and an expert because they give a thumbs up on somebody's social media.
Right.
That makes you a maven. When we want to become a Venim, we have to like Harvard. You want to get into jazz, we have to listen to jazz. You want to get into drums, you have to listen to Steve, you have to know that Gad, Weckel. But you know, today you want to say you're into jazz, you click on some Schmendrick's thing and showing you're into jazz. So the level of hishtadlus is non-existent.
Right.
And that gets compounded by all the stuff people think AI and SEO. These are tools. They're not talent. And people are starting to, Baruch Hashem, thank God, people are starting to realize that AI it's a great tool, but is it mechadish? No, it'll take all the chedushim out there and give you something that's a composite chid, but it's not going to give you a thoroughly original. It can't.
Right.
Can God still gave that to us?
Right.
And no backsies.
Right.
But it's level to take from there. I can still see when somebody sends me an AI letter.
For sure.
I can still see.
For sure.
And every time it gets to me.
My second question is...
Oh, you remember the second one? He doesn't have ADD. I was trying to...
First, read these ads that we ran. I'll tell you what was the concept behind it. Go right. It's 5 ads. So press the right arrow.
Okay, I don't want to, you know...
We ran these like 3 or 4 years ago, graduation season.
How does it set you apart?
Oh, we'll get there.
No, okay.
Press the right arrow. 5 different variations. You want to read it out loud for the listeners?
Yes, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me start from the beginning.
Ad 1.
Okay, these are all, they're being shown as billboards.
But it didn't go on billboards.
Yeah, but it's a nice presentation. The first one says it's called, now the headline, I guess, is in yellow, but it's all the same point size. And the headline for the first one is, it's called A Job. And then the subhead underneath is, it's what you do when your school can no longer babysit you. Next one in the series is, it's a little longer headline. Graduation means your parents stop giving you money and start giving you advice. That's the payoff. The next one is, as long as you know the Pythagorean theorem, you're qualified for anything. I try so hard. The next one is, will make your Aunt Gertrude stop asking what you're doing with your
life.
If you hate your teachers, try a boss. You don't want me to do this on the air, do you?
Okay, yeah. So
these don't set you apart.
So hold on. I was very personable and real.
And this doesn't come across there either.
this there was no I've never seen any paper ads that were just everything's too corporate or too safe.
There's no insight. And
there's no insight. That's true. Okay, fine. I want something funny, really funny.
You want you want something funny?
What?
Off the top of my head?
Yes.
But it's also a message.
Okay.
Assuming most of the people you place stay placed, right? You know, our 87% of our people go nowhere.
Good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I'm looking for a job that tells me,
Right.
you know, you're a good shot.
That's probably something that for employers.
No, it's for both.
Right. It could work.
It's for both. And I'm an employer. It tells me, you know what I'm looking for.
Right.
You understand.
Was that a sneeze?
Yes.
It scared me.
It's your cologne. Kugel 15. Don't use it. And he has the Nanga Brooks version. That's why. The Kitnius works fine. Honestly, I apologize whoever did these.
No, so here's my question. This is leading into my question. I feel like a lot of Jewish marketing is playing it very safe. If you look in the community, local paper ads.
I do. I asked my wife. I can't.
I take those things apart.
You know, we used to play a game. What do we think a great ad is? And we boiled it down to one thing. You look at it, I could never think of that. Wow.
So here's my question.
And it usually starts with the foundation of the ad. What was the chiddush? What was the strategy? What was the brief? What got you to these thoughts? Which, by the way, there is no continuity really in these thoughts. You know what I mean?
So here's my question. What is Jewish marketing missing that if they started focusing on this or
you
that?
Want to get me in trouble? You know something? What's it missing?
In 2 minutes, because we really have to finish.
For 90, there's certain guys that have it on the agency, and there's Yosef Langzam Go. He gets it. He understands the word strategy. He doesn't just use it to impress people. Eli Kaufman is an art director, gets it. An art director is somebody who can take a visual, a headline, and copy, and make 1 + 1 + 1 = 5. Right? We are the frum market, and please pay it. This is for your listeners. They want to go into this. The frum market is the last great bastion of print advertising. Goyim don't need print anymore.
They don't. Yeah, print doesn't work.
Print is what put all the great agencies on the map. Volkswagen was made by print. Avis Car Rental was made by print. El Al was made by print, and DDB. Learn the history of this industry. Learn who the Gedolim were, because we're one of the last places that godless of thinking is applicable, because we have Shabbos, we have Yontif, where, to the best of my knowledge, nobody's come up with a header for an iPad.
And there's still more print publications coming out weekly, monthly.
100%. But we are the last bastion of print, and we're not using it. I can't look at these magazines. I don't see, and there are exceptions. The guys who are doing what you call meal marts, they have them, but they're bright spots. But I see it's more a cool line. What's the real thought?
So if a company is looking to reach out to a creative agency because if they have this idea, they don't know how to execute or implement, what should they look for when talking to agencies? How should they find the right one?
I tell clients,
and then we'll finish.
Because I learned this from my boss. When you're looking for an agency, look at their work and see if you recognize any of it before you that worked on you. See if anything you saw their ads and that's the reason you bought a certain product. So
look at the ads that you like and
look at their work and see what worked for you. Because if you're on the level of looking for an agency, you're a little more cynical than the average reader.
Right.
I'm cynical because I'm coming from a different place. A guy who owns a business is cynical because to him, but if you look at the work and say, oh, I remember that. That's why I got this suit. That's why I got these shoes. Whatever. That's why I went to.
Right.
So at least you're talking to a place that has a chakira.
Right.
Certain people get it. Like I do stuff. This guy Go. I do stuff for Klein's ice cream. They get it. They get that they have a brand. They get, they understand what they're selling. That's more than ice cream.
Right.
You don't have that a lot from, that's why you walk in. When I was growing up, in the Borough Park I grew up in, you couldn't fill a 30, 40,000 square foot supermarket.
Right.
I launched Pomegranate, Evergreen, and Rockland Kosher's rebrand. I did all three of them. And every one of them fascinated me more. Pomegranate blew me away because what Abe Banda had there was so... And not just me, by the way. Right. He was getting people down from Whole Foods. He was getting I knew some of the distributors from the mainstream. And then he set the stage for the Evergreen, everyone else. But those things weren't possible when I was a kid.
Right.
Was Waldbaum's around when you were growing up in Borough Park? That's where Rite Aid is now.
Where?
On 13th and 52nd. Salmon Plaza across from
Yeah,
Salmon
yeah.
Plaza.
No, I don't think.
Waldbaum's was a supermarket. Kosher was one aisle. There's OU products,
Right.
but to open up a store like I can,
Pomegranate.
a Rockland kosher, but everything is kosher. That didn't exist. That's and that's why so many areas have gotten like sideways. It's like the wine business has gotten a lot because the Goyish business. I said, hey, if we get a kosher certification, these guys drink wine every week.
Right.
But it's not so simple. We're loyal to not just because you're coming and try it. There has to be more than that. It's not just a hechsher. And there's been a lot of wake up calls, and that's why the Herzogs are smart, and the guys, the guys who do what's their name, Dalton, are smart. And he's tapping his watch, ladies and gentlemen. That means he wants to play with Rocky. So
No, we got to wrap up because I have to run.
Oh, okay. He has to take his kids to the dentist. That's what he means by running.
Yeah.
Okay, that's because he's a good parent, unlike me.
Don't say that.
I'm happy my kids still talk to me. Well, they don't really, but they text. They don't really text either. I get a message once through my wife every so often. I really don't.
Okay, let's wrap up.
Okay. Thank you for putting up with me.
Thank you so much for joining us on the episode. Let me just do a quick outro.
After this airs, if you get any restraining orders, you can ignore them, most of them. Maybe not. Call me. Okay? And if the FBI with the most wanted list, that's a joke. Better than that.
Okay, fine. Thank you for joining us on today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, and I'll see you next time.
What he said.